Actually, I'm the middle child and the only boy. So I got 3 older sisters, 3 younger sisters.
Oh, wow. You got dressed up and beat up.
Marshall in the middle.
Hey, Roz, Will Marshall.
Yeah. What's going on, brother?
Hey, good to see you, man.
Another day.
Let me pin you up right here, man. All right, all right. Well, hey, good to see you. Welcome to the little Heroes I Know thing we're doing, man. I appreciate you joining up with us and signing on. I'm honored, man.
Hey, man, anything from my brothers, man.
So, I think this is the first time we've ever really talked, Tell me about the years. What years were you in the Army?
I got in 04 and I got out the beginning of 04 and got out the end of 08.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's great. That's great. So where are you from?
Where I live right now?
No, just where are you from? Where are you from? Old times. So what's your full name?
Rosalio.
Rosalio. Spell it for me.
Rosalio.
And then last name Parra.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. What's the heritage?
I come from a Mexican background, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about young Rosalio.
Well, we hopped around a lot when I was young. So it was kind of the whole finances and things like that with the parents and so, but mostly we would go between like I was born in Whittier, which is the LA area, and spent a lot of years in Bell Gardens, which is also the LA area. And then we would go up to the high desert, like Apple Valley, out here in Southern California, and then back down to Bell Gardens, and it just kind of went back and forth depending on the financial situation of my parents at the time. My dad was a trucker, and he had there was a total of 7 of us, so he had his hands full.
So where were you at as a kid? Were you in the middle, or are you oldest or youngest? Tell me about that.
Yeah, actually, I'm the middle child and the only boy. So I got 3 older sisters, 3 younger sisters.
Oh, wow. You got dressed up and beat up.
At the same time, huh?
Yeah, normally, right? When you're the middle boy, and you're just like, it's a mess. It's a mess. So how did you end up? First, did you have any nicknames when you were a kid? Was it Roz? Was that your nickname when you were a kid? Or
no, it's kind of funny because I look at my lifestyle and the people that I know based on the names that they call me, so I kind of know the eras of where I've met you, so when I was young, everybody just called me by the last half, with Salio, which was the second half of my name, and then as I got a little bit older, I didn't really want to be called that, so people started calling me Leo, and then it's funny, for a little bit people even call me Mike, and I'm not sure I can't remember where that came from. And then after that, and it was Rozzy, and then Roz kind of stuck around for the longest. But depending on who it is and where they were in my lifetime, they call me certain names, and I can kind of refer back to how long I've known them.
What year were you born?
86.
So what's your favorite toy when you were a kid? Do you remember? Having a toy or something, anything?
I was into Hot Wheels for a while when I was younger,
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I can't really think at the top of my head. I know for a while I was kind of like, I didn't want to open the boxes kind of thing. And then I remember my mom had my youngest sister, who she's now 21, I think. But at that time she was young and I was a teenager, and she went in that box and opened every one of them, and they're kind of in that dream.
Man, oh man, oh man. So tell me about joining the Army, the military. Did you go to the MEPS? Was it an easy thing? Was it somebody kicking and screaming making you join, or was there a bunch of girls back home? Oh, you're leaving me. Tell me about that.
It was funny because I wasn't really doing much in my life. I guess I graduated high school a year early. And so I just started going to junior college, and, you know, we were getting financial aid and all that stuff. And so you're getting extra money from that type of stuff. And yeah, I didn't have much going on besides hanging out with my buddies, drinking and smoking weed or kind of thing, you know, and you know, it was just kind of not going anywhere. And so it was funny because you know, my cousin would always tell me, hey, you should join the Army. And he was a year younger than me, and we grew up like brothers. And I'd always be like, man, you're crazy, because he'd talk about becoming a Ranger and things like that. And then so one day I was at the college campus, and I went on the website, you know, back then when, you know, when internet was really slow, you know, and I put in a request for information, and a couple of days later, I'm walking down the college campus, and this recruiter comes walking by me, and he calls me by my name. And I was like, who the fuck are you? You know? And I'm like, and he goes, I knew it was you. I knew it was you. I'm like, dude, you're nuts, man. And he goes, I just got all your information across my desk. And, you know, he's like, you want to go back to my office and talk? And I said, well, I'm done my class, so I guess let's go, you know? And so that's pretty much what we did. And we talked about it, and he was actually in the 82nd. He came from the 82nd, you know, and so he would tell me about jumping and all the things like that, you know, and so he would so when I would talk about the jobs I want to do, I was talking, well, I want to go 82nd, I want to be an infantryman, things like just like you kind of thing, and he would kind of juice me up about it, you know, and then you know, I was a fat boy too, so I had to lose weight and things just to even go to MEPS and stuff like that. So he put me on their little PT program and got me to drop some weight, and I changed my eating and everything like that. And once I made weight, you know, or more like tape, you know, I never made weight, but I always made tape, you know, and then he sent me to MEPS, and I went through that, and they said, they told me, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to blow up shit, shoot people, jump out of airplanes, and be in 82nd Airborne Division. And the guy points at me and goes, we got the job for you. You just wait. He was hold tight. And he started going through everything like that. And then he brought up infantrymen. But right before I got there, the funny thing was my recruiter, who he was an infantryman in the 82nd. He goes, Roz, whatever you do, don't go infantry. Just promise me you won't go infantry. I was like, man, what are you talking about? That's what I'm here for. I want to go infantry. And he goes, promise me you won't go. He goes, if you go to 82nd, you're going to be an infantryman, but just don't go infantry, you know? And so when he was showing me the jobs, he brings up infantrymen. He goes, you want to go infantry? I mean, you get everything you want, you know? And I said, you know, well, what other options you got, you know? And at the same time, my brother-in-law was joining the Army, and he wanted to go MP, right? So we were kind of talking about it, but then right before we went, he was saying, "Well, I don't want to go airborne." So, you know, I asked if MP was available at that time, and the guy said, "Well, yeah, well, there's nothing really any incentives for MPs right now, and this and that, you know." And then he brought up 14 Sierra. And then he showed me a picture of it, and I was like, hey, that's the picture I saw on the website. Yeah, I want to do that. Let's do that, you know. And so they signed me up for 14 Sierra, and they told me I could either take a bonus or I can go to get the duty station on my choice. And I told him, well, I want 82nd. So then that gave me airborne school, gave me duty station, and I got to have that job. I just didn't get the money, but I got to go exactly where I wanted to. So that's kind of how I ended up going into the Army. Because I had graduated a year early, and I was still 17 at this time, and in college, my parents had to sign the papers. And so my mom at that time was nagging my dad, just sign the papers. And he was like, I don't want him going in the Army, you know? And I was like, dude, just sign the papers. I'm already done with high school. I'm on my own, doing my own thing now. Just sign the papers. So he signs them. And then, so when I went to leave for the Army, I was actually just turned 18. I mean, I literally left a few days after I turned 18, but because of my original paperwork, my parents still had to sign the paperwork, even though I was legally 18. And then my dad signs the paperwork. My mom didn't want to sign the paperwork. And the recruiter's sitting there waiting. I got my bag in my hand. He's waiting for us to take off. And my mom won't sign the paper. And my dad's like, woman just signed the paper. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I ended up in my route in the Army, you know.
So tell me about basic training. Was that hard for you? Was all that stuff? You already talked about, you know, having a weight issue and making tape and stuff. Tell me about all that.
I mean, you know, basic training, the first day break this training, I learned how to fall asleep standing up, you know. But other than that, you know, I actually, the funny thing was actually when I arrived, I went to Fort Sill. And when the day I arrived, I stepped off the bus and I injured my foot. But I wasn't trying to stay there longer, so I just kind of sucked it up and limped and things like that, and it would hurt. And it's funny, later on, as I got to the unit and I went ahead and checked out, they said that it was the way it healed, that it was actually a stress fracture that I had gotten. So I just kind of pushed it out, you know. I took a lot of ibuprofen and water, you know. But what was that?
Were you good at the Army? Did you find the Army stuff come easy to you, you know?
Well, yeah, it was kind of both ways, you know. When I got there, I you know, there were certain things I excelled on and certain things I was like, what the hell? You know, my problem, I guess, was I asked a lot of questions, you know. I always wanted to find clarification for the stupid things we were doing, you know, and that was my issue in the Army. But you know, I did actually fail my run for our final PT test, and by a couple of seconds, and a push-up, sit-ups, and I never had an issue with, but the run part, and on top of that, the injury on my foot, you know, it was really, it wore down on me. And so they had me retake my PT test, and then you know, a week later or a couple of days later, and I passed it, you know. But the first time, it was just, I guess mentally I just wasn't there. And then the second time was like, I ain't staying here, I'm out of this place. So you know, I actually, at one point I caught pneumonia in basic training. So they put me on quarters for 3 days when I was there. But they also did a pilot program at that time, and I'm not sure if they continued or not, but they were trying to see the amount of days they were going to put us in the field. And they put us in the field for the first 30 days of us being in basic training. And so they're trying out a pilot program to see how it would work out. And I remember the first night of being in basic training, being out in the field, shivering my butt off, you know, with a rubber duck in my hand, pretending that we're guarding something that's not happening, you know. So, but yeah, I never shivered so hard in my life. But I didn't even know Oklahoma had snow until, you know, there was snow on the ground and it was April. And it's like, I don't even know what's up with this place. You know, living in Southern California, I mean, when we lived in the high desert area, yeah, you would get snow here and there. But when you're down in the LA area, you never got snow, you know. So, you know, that type of weather was a shock to me. You know, we even had a tornado go by, and you know, it was just a crazy time, you know. And I was just like, man, I was so cowboy, and I don't even know what the hell is going on in this state, you know.
So tell me about shooting your weapon. Were you good with your weapon?
Actually, yeah, I was. That's funny thing. The first time I shot in basic training, they were like, about fucking time you can do something right, you know. But yeah, I never had a problem with, you know, with my weapon. You know, obviously 82nd we were M4s, but it was M16s in basic, you know. And but I never had a problem with qualifying and quickly doing it, you know. You know, the first time I actually got to shoot the M9s were when we were in Iraq. So they were like, just qualify with it. And I'm like, I never even shot this thing, so okay. And then I qualified, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing all right, you know. You know, but yeah, even to this day, you know, most people that hang out with me and go shooting with me, and they always try to find the farthest target and put an AR in my hand. They're like, get it. And I was like, and I usually get it. So I never really had a problem with it.
Well, good. Tell me about jump school.
Jump school was kind of tough for me, you know. you know, again, I'm not the biggest fan of running, but you know, the hard part about it was when I was in my AIT, I was like, I'm going airborne, so I'm getting rid of these junk boots, and I want to buy me a pair of jump boots, right? And so I had my nice boots. I'd practice polishing them and things like that. So by the time I got to airborne school, I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to be good. I got jump boots and this and that, you know. And I get there and they're like, you can't have those boots here. You need to have the other boots, right? And I'm like, I told them, well, I tossed them out. And like when I was in AIT, and I haven't worn them since I got out of basic training. Not to mention, I had an issue actually in basic training with them hurting my feet really bad. So, you know, I was as quick as I can get rid of them. And then they said, well, if you don't come up with a pair of boots by the end of the day, you're out of jump school, you know? And and I didn't. I showed up the next day with my jump boots on, and I was a broke private, you know, and I wasn't about to go buy another pair of boots, you know, and then I go through a day of training, and then by the end of the day, they notice it again, and then they pull me in again, and they tell me, if I don't have a pair of freaking boots, you're out of here, you know. And then I show up the next day, and I did the same thing, and they didn't realize it till the end of the day, and then they put me in front of the company commander, and he said, Parra, this is the last time. If you show up tomorrow with those jump boots, and I will check you the first thing in the morning, you're out of jump school, you know? And so, you know, I was asking the guys that were there, anybody got an extra pair? And just so happened, one of the guys that was there, he was actually stationed in the 82nd already, and he was going to jump school. And he, so he's like, well, I got an extra pair, but there's no insoles in it, and they're old and worn out, but if it'll get you through, you can have them. And so he gave them to me, and I put them on the next day. And by that time, it's already almost midnight. And so I couldn't put insoles in it or nothing. I showed up the next day, and we did all that, everything. And man, my feet were killing me. But yeah, so I mean, I stuck it out, and you know, it was an interesting time. We did a lot of long days and a lot of drinking on the weekends. You know, my shins were killing me and all kinds of stuff. You know. I had a really good friend of mine who he came to the 82nd with us too. He went over to 325, and he was a combat medic, and he ended up getting recycled on the last run in airborne school because he fell out. But a week or so before that, he got bit by a brown recluse, and it was opening up in his stomach. And so him being a medic, he would pack it every day to help treat it, you know, and he knew what to do in order to treat it. But the thing was that it was just affecting him. He ended up falling out on the last run, got recycled. But it's a pretty interesting time when we're there.
Yeah. So tell me about going to your unit, going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Were you part of the 82nd back then when you first got there, right?
Yeah, I was 82nd. I got what I wanted.
So tell me about being a cherry.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we first got there, you know, you're in reception, and everybody's kind of on the same level with everything, you know, and I didn't think, I thought it was, you know, you do your PT test, you do your run, everything while you're at reception, and you're thinking, oh, this is gonna be gravy, man. This is good. Like, I didn't know 3-4 at that time, you know. And so they finally said that, all right, you're going to your unit. And there was two of us, one buddy of mine that had gone through AIT and airborne school with me, and so he was there, my buddy Lynch, and so we show up, and we're standing in front of Sergeant Major Stout. You know, we didn't know he was the airborne messiah yet, you know, but first thing he said, y'all boys ready to go to combat? And I was like, hell yeah, send me to combat, I'm ready, you know. And my buddy's like, no. He's like, well, you better fucking get ready. So yeah, you know. And yeah, they sent me to my unit. I went to Charlie Battery, 2nd platoon, and fuck, man, it was an eye awakener for me, because all the accomplishments I thought I had made in the Army really dwindled down to nothing by the time I met that platoon. And you know what, that platoon was, they were studs. I mean, they were hands down fucking studs. And I remember our first run, they did a last man up, you know, and I was dying. I was dying, and they're like, if you fall out one more time, I swear to God, we're gonna fucking be doing PT all day, you know. And I was like, is this? I talked to a couple of the guys after. I was like, is this normal? And they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty easy day actually. I'm like, easy, man. I swear I was sore for the first 3 months that I was there, you know. It was pretty tough when I first got there. A good eye awakener, you know.
So tell me some of the names that were around back then. You talked about Stout. You know, who was the platoon sergeant, platoon leader?
My first sergeant was First Sergeant Ronald Cowan. Man, I love that guy. He was a stud. Yeah, everybody knows him. He was a tough MFer, man. He was a no BS guy. I mean, and I think it was nice to have a first sergeant like that, you know, who was just no BS. You just do what you got to do, and we're going to get the mission done, and we go home, you know. And he was pretty tough on me, but he was very reasonable, and that's what I liked about him, you know. You know, he always looked at the gray areas to see what else could be involved with everything, you know. And then my platoon sergeant was Sergeant First Class Moreau, who was man, I hated that guy. And there are plenty of reasons to hate him, you know. I mean, nowadays it is what it is, but at that time, boy, man, he treated me pretty bad. It was pretty mean and wrongful in a lot of things he did with me, you know. And I think he just didn't like my personality, or something about it. I just rubbed him wrong, and so he definitely mistreated me quite a bit. I mean, at one point, everybody's like, I don't know what he has against you, but I've never seen him treat anybody so poorly as he does with you, you know. And so yeah, we didn't have a good relationship with him, and not until later on when Sergeant Maher ended up taking over the platoon, and who's Chief Maher now, I think. Man, that was a great platoon sergeant. I loved having him, and I was able to actually serve with him in Iraq. So, but then my squad leader, I had Sergeant Alvarado at that time, who was a douchebag. And then I had Sergeant Stowell under him, and Sergeant Stowell, man, he was tough, but man, he actually cared about you, you know. And he never let me get away with anything. He'd always push me, but he was always teaching me. And I really respected him for that, you know. And but yeah, and as time went on, you know, I stayed second platoon in Charlie Battery the whole time I was there. I know Alpha Battery at one point tried to take me to deploy with them to Afghanistan, and Cowan stepped in. He said, "The fuck, you're not. If you're deploying, you're deploying with me. You're not deploying with them," you know. Because we had a deployment coming up, and Alpha was going, and so they were trying to take me with them, and they're like, nope, he's going to stay here and go with us, so we're not letting you have him. But yeah, so I mean, over time, you know, we had, you know, a lot of the guys. See, we call ourselves kind of like the misfits, you know. We had our group of guys that we're in together, where we were the misfits, where we're the guys that a lot of things came down on you pretty harsh. But they needed you to complete the fucking mission. So we're those type of guys, you know. So I mean, we had you know, Juju, you know, Davis, Big Juju, you know, we had Sergeant Wilson, Walter, Bundage, Cecil Bundage, you know, then I remember Sergeant Hackey came along, you know, we had Jay Rowe. Most people know Jay Rowe, that was around our time. You know, that was pretty much for the most part my squad. We had a couple other ones, like, you know, Garcia, he was a good one. He came on to us right before we deployed. But yeah, I mean, we had you know, I mean, I had other guys in there, like Sergeant Guthrie. Sergeant Guthrie was a good one. He ended up leaving it. You know, I remember serving with Boone, and I know Boone committed suicide, but he was a good guy. I remember at one time Boone tried to smoke me when I was a private, but I was so used to being smoked that I I started doing one-handed push-ups and pissed him off. And I was like, "Is that all you got, man? Because I've been here, done that." And he was like, "Shut the fuck up and get out of here."
Oh, wow. Just for the record, I was Charlie Battery's second platoon.
Oh yeah,
nice. Still, yeah.
Was your motto Bohica at that time too, or not?
No. I heard the Bohica now and then, but no, we weren't the Bohica. No, we weren't the Bohica. We were cold steel, prepared to move forward. We were ready to roll.
Yeah, go cold steel, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of characters, that we served. But actually, take that back. I did for a little bit move from Charlie Battery. And that was when we came back from our deployment from Iraq, and they pulled us out of 82nd and put us in 108th, and they pulled me over to Echo Battery because it was the only jump status battery, and I remember that first sergeant, and man, I mean, he would bump heads with us all the time. I remember me and Ojeda, because we had like nice full haircuts tapered and things like that, and and when it grew out a little bit, you get the little arrows. We thought we were slick stuff, and this guy was like, "You guys need to cut your hair." We're like, "Hell no! If you're gonna let guys walk around here with chops, I'm gonna keep my hair cut. It's within Army regs." And I remember when we all got back from Iraq and they put us all the jumpers into Echo, and that first sergeant, I can't for the life remember his name, but he came back and he told us, "Y'all done with your vacation?" And he was like a 5-jump chump, it never served 82nd type of thing, and we were all ready to jump down his throat after he said that. We were all pissed off, but like I said, we're a bunch of the misfits, but then they put me under Sergeant Ortega, who at one point was my drill sergeant in AIT. I remember when I was leaving for airborne school, he was like, "You're going to 3-4?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but I think so." And he goes, "Well, you're going to airborne school. You're going to 3-4, and I'm going to meet you again." And then he ended up being my squad leader when I went to Echo Battery. And I remember at one point he actually saved my butt because I think maybe it was a night of drinking or something. I don't remember, but I woke up and there was sunlight out, and I wasn't living on post at that time. And I remember freaking out. And the first person I called was Ortega. He's like, "If you're gonna fucking be chasing ass all night," he's like, "you better give me a call." He's like, "But right now, you're at sick call, right?" And I was like, "Thanks, Sergeant." Man, I was like, I guess this is what happens when you're in 108, because 82nd, it was like, hell no.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. So that's a good one. So did you ever like mess anything up and get in trouble or get away with something maybe that you shouldn't have or something?
I was a king of extra duty, and that's why I kind of say that's why I said me and Sergeant Moreau, we didn't get along too well, and every little thing that a normal private would mess up on, and you would quickly do corrective actions on, he was putting me on extra duty.
Oh,
I lost a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, and he actually gave me extra duty for signing up for college because I wanted to continue my college. And so he put me on extra duty so that I couldn't attend my class. And it was an online class, I had to be there at a certain time. And he was upset that I didn't ask him to join college. But I had run it by my squad leader, which was Sergeant Stella at that time. And he was like, "Okay, whatever, it's college." And but Sergeant Moreau wasn't really happy with that decision. So he put me on extra duty so that I couldn't be in my class. And I had to drop out of college for it. And I ended up actually owing the college money because I had actually started the class, and it was like 2 weeks in before I was like, I just can't even do it. I can't even get to class, But and then there was another time where I was on extra duty and they told me to clean the platoon office, right? And someone had we knew who actually did it, but at that time we didn't. But someone went into the office, stole the platoon fund, and they tried to pin it on me because I was the one in there cleaning. And the good thing about it was that I had Knight there, Sergeant Knight, and Sergeant Knight we were really good buddies, and he always looked out for me, and he would tell her, "Nah, this doesn't sound like him," and so they try to UCMJ me, and they went the whole process. I was standing in front of and my Sergeant Moreau was just coming down on me like, "I know you fucking did." They smoked us for like 4 hours upstairs to try to get us to admit it, somebody to admit it. And then that's when they just pointed at me and said, well, you were on extra duty, you were cleaning officer, it was you, right? But they literally smoked platoon for like 4 hours in the day room, you know? And so I'm standing in front of First Sergeant Cowan, and at that time I think it was Captain Hobart had just taken over. So I'm telling my story like, hey, I didn't touch this stuff. You know, as a matter of fact, I said, well, I saw that wall locker unlocked, and I told Sergeant Knight that it wasn't, you know, and so they eventually came down to that it wasn't me. And then right after, it came out that it was actually Sergeant Alvarado, my squad leader, who had borrowed the money and could get some cookies because he was hungry and he was going to pay it back. And he ended up doing it the same night that I was on extra duty. And after extra duty, I was upstairs drinking, and for some reason, somebody thought I was going to go take off in my car. And I was actually going to my car to get a pack of cigarettes. And he was just happened to be there. And I think that was the night he was taking the money. And he took my car keys from me and was like, you're not going anywhere. And I was like, whatever, F you, I'm going upstairs, you know, I'm already drunk. And then he took off in my car and took it to the bar to get drunk himself. And I was like, the next day we had a lot of words in the parking lot, you know, but it was, I got a cold end of the stick quite a bit when I was a private, you know.
Wow. That's crazy stuff, man.
I mean, it eventually got to a point where like, whoever's on CQ was like, Parra, just go upstairs, dude. If anybody's coming, I'll call you, man, because I was always on extra duty, you know. And that's how I got a relationship with Alpha Battery First Sergeant, was because I was on extra duty all the time and I was polishing the floors and waxing them. And that's why he would sit there at night and have conversations with me. And then that's why he wanted me to deploy with them. And First Sergeant Cowan was like, you're not fucking going with them. So. But yeah, it wasn't until, you know, not until Sergeant Maher took over the platoon where all that finally calmed down, and I was actually able to enjoy my time off and my weekends and things like that. And Sergeant Maher at one point came to me and said, he goes, you know, Sergeant Monroe said you were one of the worst soldiers that we had in the platoon. He's like, and I really don't see that. He's like, you're a pretty damn good soldier. And I was like, well, that's because he didn't like me, but thank you, you know. But yeah, so yeah, I was in trouble quite a bit. You know, I lost a lot of awards. You know, I would watch the guys who were getting their awards and their coins and things like that, and that I was working right beside them doing it. And for some reason, right before they always came, Sergeant Monroe hit me with something else, and then they would pull my award, and those guys would be standing up there getting their award and their coins, and I'll be sitting there in the crowd just watching it happen. So yeah, it was yeah, I didn't have the best taste in my mouth with that guy.
So tell me about jumping out of airplanes. Do you enjoy it? Was that something you enjoyed
doing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I'd do it again today, man. I'll tell you, I loved it. I mean, I had my set of injuries from it, but yeah, man, I loved it. I remember my first jump, and I've always been like the screw it, just do it. You know, you're ready here kind of thing, kind of guy. And so, you know, and that's, you know, that was it on my first jump and all the way through. And then my cherry jump, and I didn't break my cherry pie, so I was good, you know. And you know, even with the SMJP jumps, and I really enjoyed jumping, you know. I mean, granted, back then you think I'm gonna keep jumping, get an extra $100 and something a month, and realistically, you're older now, you're like, man, why did I even do that? Wasn't even worth it, you know? But we couldn't really work overtime there, you know. So, but yeah, no, I mean, obviously everybody knows all the things that go on before the pre-jump and the endless hours of waiting and stuff like that. But yeah, when you're up in the air, man, and I tell people today, like, the most peaceful time in the world is between that bird and the ground, man. They don't get more peaceful than that, man. Yeah, I love it.
Flip away.
You're talking about those Mastech jumps, man.
Oh,
jump
yeah.
with 5, something like that. No. And I used to get mad. There were always fights on the ground with those ones.
Did you ever get hurt?
Yeah, a couple of times. One time my first SMJP jump, the wind shifted, and so my SMJP actually stayed standing up, and I landed on my back on the top of the SMJP standing up. So there was two other soldiers standing on the side, these two ladies, and they were like, "Oh, are you all right?" And I was like, "I'm good. I'm good." And man, my back hurt for a while, but and another time I actually sprained my ankle pretty severely, and again, Sergeant Moreau thought I was lying, and he made me do the 20K back to the battery, and I went in, and by the time I got a sick call, the doctor was like, "Why did you even wait to come in here?" I told him what had happened, and my ankle was huge swollen, and he purposely put me on 5 days of quarters, just to kind of prove a point to my platoon sergeant at that time that you can't treat a soldier like this, But
you were, honestly, look, you were in the Army in a time, and I was in the Army in a time where we did have some caustic leaders that there was kind of unchecked. It was hard to, well, look, I served with people that I watched some of the stuff they were doing sometimes, and it was like, why are you all in this guy? But I'll tell you what, in the 82nd, if you can't run, for some reason you're not valuable, right?
Yeah.
Then you have no value.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's really weird. It's really weird, right?
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, I got to a point when I was able to run, and pretty decently. But getting to that point was pretty tough, and you did have a lot of people coming down on you at that point. Yeah, so I get that, and and when that was, I guess that was one of my biggest issues, was when I had poor leadership in front of me. I was the private that opened their mouth, and I would say something to them, like, "Dude, I'm not doing that. Like, you're crazy. Like, we're grown men. Like, you can remember that at the end of the day, I'm gonna hit you." Like, and we'd take those offers behind the water towers when I was in there, And so it was. I was not that private. I didn't like that. But when it was a good NCO that I knew that they were giving me corrective action for a reason, I'd gladly do it. I didn't have an issue, But when it was someone else, I wouldn't shut my mouth, even if I was surrounded by 3 or 4 NCOs smoking me, and I'd still be running my mouth while I'm down there doing push-ups. I'm gonna keep doing it, but you're gonna hear me, And then and there's points at sometimes where I'd get up, and we were gonna be knuckling it up, because there's one thing for corrective action, and there's one thing that's disrespect, and I was kind of like that. My dad raised me that way. You can get a point across, but you don't gotta be disrespectful about it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So tell me about danger or fear or deploying to war, or tell me about some of those feelings. You ever any specific danger?
I mean, I think going to combat in general just kind of puts a lot of fear in everybody. I remember our first couple of minutes in Iraq. We already got incoming. We're all running into the T walls, of those square T underneath the big old T walls, and hiding and things like that, and that was only within a couple of minutes of actually being there, and the sirens going off and things like that. It was interesting because we actually were the first ones to go out there at 3-4 and do the whole CRAM program. So we went out to Dam Neck, Virginia, cross-trained with the naval guys out there, and we took that system to Iraq, and well, there were some guys there already, but they couldn't get the system to operate the way they needed it to. And that was the first round out there. And then we took over, knocked out all the kinks, and got that system working. And we were shooting down mortars, and so there's just the rush you get from that. You see that mortar, and that's in that. This ain't training no more. This ain't us shooting down rig mats and things like that. We're actually shooting down mortars in a combat area, but it's crazy because we trained for all this, and then they pulled my squad, which at that time was me, me, Sergeant Bundage, Sergeant Wilson, Walter Wilson, J. Rowe, and this guy Fryer, who came from another unit, but we needed more bodies, so they sent him and his brother to attach them to 3-4, and they deployed with us. But there was 5 of us, and they took a lot of us from actually almost the second platoon. A lot of second platoon was gone, and there are a couple other guys from other ones, but they pulled us out and they sent us to Fallujah, the 5 of us. And it was, we pretty much had to find our way there almost, you know. It was like, they sent us to, first they flew us, what was it, Al Assad. So our first flight was to Al Assad, and then we were supposed to link up with another flight from Al Assad to Fallujah. And we couldn't get a flight out of Al Assad, and nothing was set up for us. So we literally slept at the bunker until every day we're asking for a flight out, I mean, you're watching SF guys go out there, Delta Force guys go through there, all suited up, beards and all kind of, we're just like, we're 82nd guys, and we're like, damn, like those are like who we wanted to be, you know? And, you know, but I mean, we'd go down, we'd eat chow, and then we'd go back up there and just wait there all day long for, I don't know, I forgot, I think it was almost like a week or 2, something like that, you know? And finally we got a flight out of there. It was on a UH-60. And then it was funny, mid-flight, we got to pull security for them to fuel up the aircraft, like in the middle of Iraq. And I'm like, where the fuck are we? And we're just out laying on the ground with our M4s, pulling security on this bird. And then we go back up, and then we stop again, and some dude comes out of the darkness, hands him something, and runs back out. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And then we finally end up in Fallujah. And then we end up in Fallujah, and the National Guard unit that was there was the Minnesota Red Bulls. It was an infantry brigade or something like that. And they didn't want that. They didn't want us. They didn't want no 82nd guys. So we're stuck with the contractors for a couple of days until the Marine unit that was there actually took us. So we were attached to Marines, to 1st MD, and I can't remember what specific unit it was. Again, I got the orders and stuff, but so we were attached to Marines, and so it's funny because we're actually the few in the unit that get to wear Marine combat patch, you know. But we went out there and nobody really knew what to do with us either. So we're doing all kinds of stuff, you know, and you know, they wanted us to help monitor the radar system to help with incoming and things like that, you know, and we would do that plus everything else. And that was a crazy time because we pretty much lost communication with 3-4, with Charlie Battery. And we had no communication with our platoon sergeant or platoon leader. And we were like, we knew that they were supposed to come and make their rounds to visit us. So I remember me and Walter Wilson, we would go out with the Humvee because there's a blackout fob, right? And we'd go out the Humvee, wait at the airstrip. The flights were only coming in at night. And so we'd wait there just in case they came, because we knew they'd never find us if they came there in the middle of the night. And I think we did that for like 3-4 months, something like that.
Oh,
and we had no communication with them. And then one day they just showed up and they were there, and we're just like, oh, now you come, right? And then they try to tell us, oh, you're not supposed to be doing this, or you're not supposed to be doing that. Like, yeah, but there wasn't nobody here to tell us. I mean, we were just trying to survive at this point, you know. And Fallujah was, it's Fallujah, and so then for the longest time they didn't want to put us in like no room, so they kept us in tents. And I know that sounds kind of funny because a lot of people spend time in tents in Iraq, but by that time there was actually like trailers and rooms and stuff, and they got us like dogs in tents, and we're just like, yo, man, I want a tent. And then we're like, and then we had to fight to get a truck just so we can drive around, you know. And then we finally got an up armored truck but the problem was that the trucks belonged to the Red Bull, so they didn't want to give the 82nd guys the truck. So finally we got a truck, and it was crazy because one night, so what we would do is in the middle of the night, we'd go work out in the gym, right? And you know, the CBs made some pretty nice gyms there. It just intense, and they just kind of built nice floors and things like that, you know. And we'd go work out in the gym. So what we would do is we stick our M4s between the mattress and the bunk, and we'd go work out, come back, right? And one day we did that one night, and we come walking in, and so Walter, he's dead asleep, right? And we're just we kind of like running into people in this, and it's a big tent, right? And normally it's completely empty. There's cots and empty bunks, and it's just us, right? And they start running into people, and we're like, what the fuck, you know? And so I was like, J-Ro, turn the light on, man, turn the light on. So he turns the light on, and there's Hajis everywhere. And I mean, they're on our bunks, you know? And so our M4s and J-Rose 249, you know, it's between the mattress and the bunk, right? And we're just like, what? So we run over to our bunks, we flip these guys off our bunks to grab our weapons, and we throw our magazines in, and we don't know who the hell they are, right? And I go wake up Walt. I was like, Walt, dude, wake up. And he was like, what the fuck, you know? And I'm like, dude, get the fuck up, dude, look around. And he wakes up and he sees these guys, and this dude, he gets his M4, pops his magazine in, slides it back, and he's like, what the fuck is this, the fucking Holiday Inn? And he's like, get the fuck up. He wakes everybody up, right? And so he was like, Parr, watch that door. J-Ro, watch the front door. And so, you know, we're locked and loaded, and we don't know who these guys are. I mean, a bunch of them got like that Fedine tattoo on their hand, right? And so we already know, like, these aren't necessarily the best guys, right? And so Walt goes over there, and he wakes everybody up, and all the Marines, right? The colonel's getting up, everybody, right? And one, I think it was a staff sergeant that came along, and that was a Marine, and he calls Walt. He goes, what are you, racist? And Walt's like, fuck you, man. Walt gets pissed because he's like, no, you fucking sleep here, right? And then so after all the commotion, Walt, and with everything, and you know, us being pissed, I mean, this is where we sleep, and you want us to sleep with all these guys, and we're like, you know, it ended up being TCN drivers, which are a mix of, you know, Pakistanis, Iraqis, and I mean, there's all kinds of people in there, you know. And so for us, we're like, these guys got, you know, but who vetted them? Like, they're Fedine tattoos and stuff, and you're letting them come all up in this post, and you know, who else escaped from here right now, you know? And so when they end up waking them all up and moving them to the south end of the post of the fob, and bunking them over there where the contractors are at, you know. But yeah, it was just, I mean, we're worried. I mean, I was worried, like, what could have happened to our brother? Like, he was in there asleep, you know, and we didn't have our weapons, you know, and somebody made this stupid decision, you know, and you know, that was pretty worrisome. I mean, throughout the time, there's always incoming coming in, things like that, you know, small fires at the end of fobs and things like that. But you know, but I think, you know, we gained a really, really close relationship between us, and even to this day, just because we didn't have anybody when we were there. It was us and those Marines, and we lost communication with everybody. So we just had each other to rely on, you know. And so, you know, now, like I said, you know, this day we talk almost on a daily, you know, we're texting and BSing, we call each other, things like that, you know. I mean, they're some of the biggest contributors to like the reunion that I do, you know. And so, you know, it's just, yeah, so you know, when we got back to the unit, you know, nobody really knew what we had done, you know. And I remember we put that, well, it's funny because if you look at some of our pictures, you know, we got like ACUs, DCUs, and BDUs on at the same time, because we're on a majority Marine fob. There's nothing for ACUs because they just came out, right? There's nothing for DCUs, you know, everything's pin on, right? I mean, we don't, so we're mix matching uniforms just so we can wear them. Like, all the Velcro's falling off from the ACUs, and so we got pictures, like me and Walt, we went off the fob with one of the contractors, and it was nice going out there in like F-250, an up arm F-250, you know. And so there's a picture of us outside where it's like one of the Saddam's palaces got leveled out, right? and there's this big old water around it. And so we're out there and we take a picture in this water right now outside the water, and we got every color on us from our uniforms, you know. And I'm like, yeah, that's how you represent the 82nd, right? Just, you know, I actually got in trouble at Fallujah, and it was kind of scary because they wanted me to do a detail where it was the Denver Broncos were sending in their cheerleaders, right, to just kind of, you know, morale and things like that. And so there was this major that was on the FOB. He was an Army major, and we pretty much got assigned to him to help set everything up, and you know, so we're like losing sleep to help set up chairs and stupid things like that, you know. And I'm like, whatever. So we're set everything up, and then he goes, hey Parra, I want you to represent the Army on stage when they come in. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, for me, it was cool that he didn't ask the National Guard guys, so he asked the 82nd guy, you know. But the problem was that we had so much freedom, I guess, being with the Marines, that we were pretty much growing beards and our hair was long, and, you know, they wouldn't. And me coming from the background, we having 82nd, I was like, I can't represent us looking like this. So I was like, okay, well, you know, if we're done, you mind if I run and get a haircut and get cleaned up? And I really just don't want to represent my guys in 82nd looking like this, you know? And then he was like, yeah, no, go on. Go on. And I was like, okay, cool. So I took off. Now the detail wasn't actually over, but he allowed me to take off. Now there was a staff sergeant from the Red Bulls there, and he didn't necessarily like it that I was taking off. And so he went back and told his guys that I was disrespectful with this major, right? And which just wasn't true, you know. And so I get my hair cut, and I'm getting freshened up, you know. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to represent us right, you know. And I come walking back, and Walt comes fucking walking at me. He's heated. He's fucking mad. And I'm like, oh shit, what's wrong? And he goes, get the fuck down. And I'm like, what? I ain't doing no push-up. What the hell did I do, man? What do you mean, dude, get the fuck down? And he goes, do some goddamn push-ups. That's what the fuck I said. I was like, you gotta tell me what I did first before I'm gonna do some push-ups, because I don't know what the hell's going on. And then he told me, he goes, did you disrespect a major? I was like, well, what are you talking about? And then he starts going into the story. And so this guy had said that I told the major, I'm not representing the Army, and I'm getting the fuck out of here because I ain't doing this shit no more. And I was like, whoa, that's not what happened. Like, this guy released me so I can go get cleaned up, so I can represent us the right way. I said, that's not what happened, right? So we go back to the talk, and that guy's sitting in there, and his leadership is in there, and they all start coming down on me, you know. And Walt starts standing up for me, and me and that guy start getting into it. And he was like, get in some fucking push. I was like, fuck you, motherfucker. I ain't got no goddamn pushes for you. You want to fucking knuckle up? Even there, so there's this Gunny there. We called him Gunny. He's, you know, and he's like, yeah, y'all go outside. I want to see this, you know. And we're just like, yeah. But so we end up having to stand in front of the colonel, the Marine colonel, and explain what happened, you know, because he was pretty pissed. Like, you got this specialist disrespecting a major, and you're assigned to us, and that's not how we roll, you know. And so after we talked to him, you know, he just kind of apologized and was like, I can't even believe this even got to this level, you know. And it turned out I didn't even get to represent us because of everything that was going on and the stink that this guy caused. And so it kind of went pointless at that point, you know. So, but man, it was just like, it was these ridiculous things, and I just, you know, we had our good times, you know. We had a lot of memories and things like that, and it was funny walking around being some 82nd guys, and it seemed like he asked these guys, every Marine that walked by us, we were going to chow, they were shoulder checking the shit out of us. And then we got fed up, and then we started shoulder checking people pretty hard. And people would look at us like, I remember I did that one time when it was a captain, and he was just like, what the hell's your problem? I was like, don't come shoulder check me, man. And it was just like, they were just doing it on purpose, you know? So it was a good time, you know, it was nice, you know, but again, we gained a pretty close relationship. So by the time we got back to the unit in Anaconda, you know, it was a lot different, you know, because, you know, everybody had been living their life and dealing with the things they've been dealing with already. And we had our own stories, you know, and it was just change. It was a lot of change, and you know, and it was pretty interesting the way it went forward at that point, you know. And then then we lost one of our troops, and you know, and that really changed morale, you know. And you know, there was a lot of weird things happening out there too, and you know, and so, you know, I think it kind of hit a point where a lot of everybody was just like, man, I just need to go home already. I'm just waiting for this day because this stuff's getting stupid, you know. But you know, it never stopped us from doing our job, you know, and we always did it well, you know. But yeah, it was definitely different when we got back to the unit, because we had been around Marines the whole time. We had been in like a no salute, blackout type of place, and then we come back to Anaconda, and you know, people walking by, oh, you don't salute and you don't do this, and you know, we're like, we are in combat. Do you forget where this is where we're at, you know? But it was such a nice post, you know, that, you know, fob that they hadn't been outside of it to understand that, you know. But yeah, it was interesting. But and a lot of, you know, we have our own stories of everything that happened during that time too, you know. So we go on for hours and hours of these stories, you know.
So tell me about your patriotism. Where does your patriotism come from?
I'm actually a pretty huge patriot. You know, sometimes it gets me in a lot of arguments because, you know, being from Hispanic background, you know, everyone expects me to be, you know, proud of being about being Mexican and this and that, you know. And I'm like, bro, I'm American. You know, I don't know that lifestyle. You know, my dad, he was Mexican. He spoke Spanish, but I mean, he loved being American. I mean, I grew up, he was listening to country music, right? It wasn't Spanish music, you know, and it was I was just a different breed, and you know, having a combination of a dad like that, and then having a military background, you know, when people question that because of the color of my skin, it was like, no, bro, this is, I'm American, man. There ain't no skin color around me. It's just we're American. This is what we are. You know, there's a brotherhood that I came from that you know, all that stuff you're saying is incorrect. You know, and so but you know, Veterans Day, everybody knows I'll be the first one there to organize a Veterans Parade and let people know that, hey, there's vets over here. And you know, Memorial Day, we're out there putting coins. You know, I just found out couple weeks ago, and I was kind of down for it, and the guys that I know and I serve with, they knew about it. But you know, I just found out that the troop that we lost in Iraq, he's buried right down the road from my work, and I pass by it every day. And to know, for me, it was kind of tough, because knowing that all this time I've been going back and forth, I didn't know he was right there. And so I went and paid my respects. But Memorial Day, we'll be there, me and another one of our brothers, Hibbs. He lives out here close to me, so we're going to be going paying our respects over there this year with him. And you know, but yeah, I mean, everything that has to do with patriotism and veterans and things like that, I'm there. I'm about it. You know, I love this country. You know, I believe in our Constitution, and I believe that it wasn't given to me. I earned it. So, you know, it means something to me, and my children are the same way. And you know, my kids are, they don't do kneels or things like that. They know, you know, and you know, when people ask them what you are, they tell them American. You know, they don't. My kids don't understand the difference between cultures. They just understand that they're Americans, and that's the way I raised them, because they don't need to be anything else than what we are. You know, we didn't grow up in another country. This is where we were born and raised, right here in America. That makes me an American, man. And so I love that red, white, and blue. You know, my kids, they wear their flag shirts, and they walk around with their flags and all kinds of stuff, man. We love it, man. I love being in this country. I love everything about it, and I'm proud of the country that I served under, you know. So
So there's you know, there's those that are going to come behind us, right? You mentioned your kids, and I'm sure you got nieces and nephews and all kinds of people that look up to you, right? What would you tell them about your time in service? Well, what kind of things would you tell your family and friends about remembering your service?
I mean, my time in service, I always refer to it as a love-hate relationship, man. You know, I love the people that I ran into out there, man. The relationships we had, the things we did, the memories we created, you know, the honor that we got from the things that we did, you know. I hated the politics like most of us, you know. But would I do it again? Oh man, 100%. I'd do it again. To this day, I still believe that, you know. I had a couple cricks in my back, you know, but I'd go do it all again. Man, I did. You know, like I said, you know, I look at it like such a small time frame in my life that I did it, but it was one that changed my entire life, you know. And so, you know, in good reasons for that, and there are some things that caused me to struggle on certain things now, but you know, like most veterans do struggle, you know. But overall, man, for me, it was worth it. Now, do I want my kids joining the military? I mean, if you do, probably don't choose daddy's route, you know. Take a chair force route or something like that. But I mean, you know, if they choose to, they choose to. I can't stop them. All I can do is help guide them. You know, same thing with my nieces and nephews, and you know, I don't tell my kids you want them to be like daddy, but you know, I do raise them to be very well chilled, well behaved, and proper and as much as they can be, you know. But yeah, I love my children, man, and my niece, and I love them all. But yeah, I definitely am. I'm the different person in the family, you know, just because of my background, you know. And a lot of my, you know, my family didn't come from a military background, you know. Well, my grandfather, he did join the Coast Guard, and he got chaptered out for assault on NCO. But that was only on one side of the family, and that was a very brief time he was in the military. But the rest of my family, it wasn't that, you know. You know, my dad, he, you know, even on his deathbed was calling me his hero, you know, and for me that meant a lot, you know. So you know, but like I said, it just and if my children decide to go on after this and walk in daddy's footsteps, you know, best to them. You know, it's gonna be tough for them, but it you know, if they want to take it on, it's up to them. But they should be proud of what, you know, of what we do and what we've done in the military, and even in 3-4 and the history we have there, man. I mean, there wasn't nobody that looked at 3-4 and said, "Yeah, they're a bunch of wusses." Everybody that came to 3-4 knew that you're in a real fucking unit, you know. And so, yeah.
So they say that there's no atheist in the foxholes. Tell me about your spirituality. Do you you know, what would you say that those would look on about how you chose to deal with those kinds of things?
You know what, I'm a born believer of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. You know, my mama raised me that way. You know, was I always in church? No. Actually, you know, I did a lot of studies too that kind of were pretty in depth in theology and things too. So, you know, when it comes down to my belief system, I'm very, very, I stand strong in it, you know, and I raise my children in it and things like that, you know. But yeah, there's definitely no atheism in the foxhole, because everybody's calling out to one God at that point, you know. So you may not believe that, you may not believe before, but at that point you're ready to believe in something, you know. So but yes, that's where I'm very strong in my Christianity, my belief in Jesus, you know.
At some point, I want to get you to salute and report, and like give me like, you know, my name is you know, Rosalio Parra. I'm from, you know, wherever you say you're from, and then, you know, drop your salute. And then what I would love to hear you do, were you ever an NCO? Were you ever a sergeant?
Brief time.
Brief time. Did you go to PLDC?
No, didn't even get a chance.
No, man. And then, and
It's
then,
a whole other story.
and then basically I want you to salute and sign out. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be right now, but just at some point, just think about it, because we're gonna, what I want to do is I want to use this, God forbid, at your memorial one of these days. Your kids might like to see Dad saluting, and and
Yeah,
say,
I tell them I better have a pretty damn big memorial,
right, yeah, right.
I better see cars and motorcycles and all kinds of stuff. And then I told my buddies and my wife, I said, you better have those boys line up and pound those wings into my casket, because that's what we want having over here,
So that's an interesting thing. So tell me about, tell me what kind of funeral or memorial service you want. You want people to pound your wings into your chest?
Well, not in my chest, because that might be a little awkward for some of them,
Right.
But I seen one time where and I thought it was really respectful for someone who has served in an airborne unit, that when they close a casket and right before they're putting it underground, all the troops that serve with them put a set of wings on top of their casket, and they just hit it into the casket, and I was like, hey man, I would love to see that. That'd be pretty neat for people to do that to me. I know if any of my buddies, my really close ones that I served with, passed away, I'd go there I'd do the same damn thing right before that casket went down there, because anyone who knows that person or knows me knows that meant a lot to us, and that the time frame that we had there, it's more than just the wings and the jump status, man. It was a life and the friendships and brotherhood,
You hit the nail right on the head. Great. Yeah, exactly. It's a brotherhood, and the wings are just a symbol of that, right? They're just a small symbol that we can all share,
That's really why I got into, helping vets and creating this reunion, or taking on board positions at these different things for, like right now, I'm a board position for protecting soldiers' rights, and I've got a board position at Horses of Warriors, and I help these organizations grow, because, we've lost even 3-4, we've lost quite a handful of vets from the time frame that I served, and we were going deploying to Iraq and Afghanistan and things like that, and these guys are coming home, and, this year alone, we lost a couple, and, and so it means a lot. And, at one point we were losing so many that, me and that's why I said, that bondage, that relations that we had, we all saw our brothers, our brothers and sisters going, and we've lost more outside of combat than we did in combat, and it hurts, because that's that brotherhood that we talk about, we're losing our family. And so that's why we started the reunion. We had to do something about it. And little did we know it was going to grow to where it is now. But, we decided one time, man, let's just meet up. Let's let each other know that we're there for each other, and let's come out together. And nothing was like real organized at that point. It was just like a bunch of us hanging out. And I think there was like 6 or 7 of us the first time we did it out in Dallas. And after that, we realized, man, this is what we needed. And it created a communication level between each other that's I think is really what helped us get this far, and that's all we try to do every year, is to continue that communication between everybody, So.
Well, I appreciate what you do. I'm a fan. I had made initial attempts to make it out to the reunion this year, and one of my team members has kind of a hard stop that won't allow him to go out there. So we're going to have to rework and redo. But I really appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, right.
Every year, every 4th of July weekend.
I love
it. Not a lot of people are a fan of the 4th of July weekend, but you know what? It's the one weekend into the year that no matter who you are, you probably have it off. So, so yeah, and it's a good way to celebrate patriotism at the same time. So,
amen. So tell me a closing story. You got a good story? What, you saving something? You tell what happened? We talked about some of your friends you served with. We talked about your leaders. We've talked about some little trouble you got into. You know,
Yeah,
tell
I
me,
mean,
you know, what else?
I'm trying to think at the top of my head. I mean, man, there's so many stories, and then you just kind of forget about them when you get put on the spot. uh, you know, yeah, I can't think of one particular story, and I can't put it all out there because I don't know if he wants everybody knowing it. But for the most part, you know, we got sent to Fort Knox to help with the training for the West Point cadets, right? And it wasn't even supposed to be second platoon going out there, but me and Bunnage, we were kind of getting in trouble. So they're like, we're sending you out there to straighten you up, you know? And I was like, cool, whatever. I got to get away from you fuckers, you know? So they sent us, I think it was with 1st Platoon that they sent us with. And we went out there, and I think Sergeant Major Stout ended up having to come out because of the amount of turmoil things were happening. We went out there, and it was just like every night we were all getting drunk and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And the Bundage got himself wrapped up in some pretty serious shit. And one night I remember, I don't know if you ever met Brass, but Sergeant Brass, so me and Grant, they had told me, like, Parr, you're underage, and if you drink one more time, Sergeant Goldman had told me, you drink one more time, I'm gonna fucking bring the hammer down on you, right?
Oh, man.
And I was like, whatever, fuck, I'm not gonna drink then. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble anymore. But it's not going, usually not that serious, but he was pretty fucking serious that time. So we're standing there, it was me and Grant, and Brass is right there, and Brass is hammered, and it was, I think it was 1st Cav that was out there, and so Brass walks up to us, he's talking to me and Grant, he's just lit, right? And he's like, he looks at us and he gets straight face and he goes, you ready? And we're like, ready for what, dude? And he's like, are you fucking ready? And we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he turns around and hits the first fucking guy that's next to him as part of 1st Cav. And I mean, this guy was just sitting there. He had a CD player on, and he's got his headphones on, not minding his business. And Brass just punches him. And we're, next, you know, there's an all-out brawl, and we grab Brass, throw him behind the bushes, and because these guys are after him, you know. And we're trying to find out. We were like, one more, I'm telling you, motherfucker, you're not getting to him. Like, bring him out. Then what happens? Their first sergeant comes out, and he's hammered. And he was like, he was just trying to come down. I was like, look, first sergeant, I may be a specialist, but you're the one's fucking hammered right now, and I'm the sober one. I'm telling you, you go back up to your room. He's like, fuck you. I was like, you guys ain't getting this, motherfucker. You need to go up to your room and take care of your boys and get them the fuck out of here while we handle this, you know? And then I remember, so we wake up Sergeant Goldman, and I think it was Lieutenant Cook at that time. I think he's like a major or something like that now, but he was a butter bar at that time, you know? And they're like, wake everybody up, right? So Sergeant Bond, he's pissed, and so Sergeant Bond's about to do a smoking session on everybody. We're pulling everybody's hammered, you know, and so we're pulling people out, and I'm like, this is not a good idea. Like, you know, you're gonna, and well, because it was really Lieutenant Cook who was like really pushing it. Like, we're gonna have a smoking session. Wake here. I'm like, this is not a good idea, sir. Like, these guys are hammered. Like, I spend the weekends with these guys hammered. Like, you don't want to wake them up when they're already passed out drunk, you know? And so we're all out there, and Sergeant Bond he starts the smoking session, and I'm kind of pissed because I'm like, man, I'm sober, man. You told me don't drink. I did what I was supposed to, and then I'll back my brother up after he sucks some dude for no freaking reason. And then it was Adams. Yeah, I don't know if you ever met Adams. But Adams, you can't miss him. He's like 6'5", big old black dude, and he's hammered. He's standing there and he's not moving, and it was hard even getting him up, right? And so he's standing in formation. He's not doing push-ups. He's not doing flight. He's not doing nothing. And Lieutenant Cook gets so mad at him. He was like, "Start rocking the push-ups." And you don't see officers really acting like that, you know. But this guy's hammered. Then finally Adams goes, "Why don't you fucking make me?" And that was the end of the smoking session because they weren't about to push it in farther.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Great times, right? Crazy
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, then Stout and I think Lieutenant Colonel King showed up at that time. You know, yeah, I served at 3-4 under Stout and Lieutenant Colonel King, and they man, they're just pristine leaders, man. I never seen someone run so fast until I met Lieutenant Colonel King, and if you ever were around him, that guy could freaking run. I remember doing a PT test. He runs up next to me running backwards, and he was like, "Come on, Airborne." I was like, "This guy's crazy." You know, we learned our first beer stand, or cake stand, I mean, from Sergeant Major Stout. You know, I didn't know you had to do push-ups until I met him when you were doing the cake stand.
He's got a few crazy traditions here and there, doesn't he?
Yeah, man, he's a great guy, you know, and it's pretty neat, you know. Me and him have a pretty good relationship, and you know, we talk on the phone here and there, you know. And you think about at that time, like there wasn't that type of communication. Right? He was my sergeant major, and I was the guy, you know, in Charlie Battery, you know. But he walked in on me one time, and I was asleep on staff duty. Let me have it, but you know, man, that's a great guy right there, you know.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, thanks for hanging out with me a little bit and telling some stories. I really appreciate it, man. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a good time. It's been a good time. Let me get that salute in real quick for me.
So you're saying
get that, yeah.
You want my you said rank, name, and where I'm at, right?
Yeah, like name, yeah, exactly. Just whatever, you know, salute and say, you know, whatever, name, rank, where you're from or where you're living at or whatever. That's perfect.
All right, let's see. Got me again, all right.
There we go. Yeah, looking good, man. Looks good.
Yeah. Specialist Parra from Oakdale, California, reporting.
Awesome. Now salute and say your name and sign out.
Yeah. Specialist Parra signing out.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect, dude. That's perfect.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Bringing up a lot of memories right now.
Yeah, right. Isn't it really cool to go through that kind of process and kind of think about that stuff and I tell you, man, you're a true hero. Thank you for what you're doing for veterans. Thank you for the reunions and all the boards and things that you're on and how active you are. I'm a member of your Facebook group and the reunion, and I appreciate it very much what you do. You're a true hero, man.
I appreciate that, brother, man. I appreciate you doing this. You know, I know at one point I wanted to do the same thing where you don't want these guys to be forgotten, you know, and history books don't tell about everybody else. It only tells you about the big stories, you know.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. So thank you so much. We're enjoying it. We're gonna get you've already obviously got your t-shirt. Yay. So we're gonna get the box and the coin and the thumb drive with this, and we'll get it on the way to you here in probably about a month or so. This will get posted on YouTube next week sometime.
Okay.
Sound good?
All right, sounds good. Yeah. I mean, I look forward to some of these other cats here. I just saw a video drop for Cook. I gotta listen to that one too. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So his debuts, I think, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock local time or central time. So
Okay.
yeah. Well, thanks much, man. I enjoyed it very much. It's been an honor. And you see Benson there in the background giving you a thumbs up too. And so we really appreciate it, buddy.
All right, brother. It was good catching up with you guys.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was a blast. All right. Thanks again. I'm going to cut this out. We're going to go. We're signing off.
All right, brother.
All right. Good night.
Good night.